Alrighty, and welcome back to the Mother-Daughter Disney podcast. My name's Amanda. I'm here with my lovely mother.
Hi, I'm Janette.
And today we are going to rank all 31 Pixar films. There's a lot of films. I didn't realize there were 31, if I'm being quite honest. So we're gonna go kind of quickly through some of these since technically we're doing 62. All right, before we begin editing, Amanda coming in to say that we are going to be talking about the movies with spoilers because sometimes the spoiler of the movie is why we liked the movie. So just to note, there are going to be some spoilers within this overall episode. I would say it's not super heavy on spoilers for every single film, but especially once we get into our top 5, we really start to kind of dive into the plot and characters of the movies a bit more and talk about why we like the movies and specific things that happen in the plot of why we like the movies. So just to note, there are going to be spoilers in this episode, so I apologize about that. Lamar, all right, what's in your 31?
Bug's Life.
A Bug's Life?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one that, I really have no want to see again.
No, that's fair. All right, so I'm going to go quickly through my 31 to 27. So my bottom 5, because they're all pretty similar, and that is because they are all the Toy Story movies. This is probably shocking to a lot of people that I have all 5 Toy Story movies ranked so low. It's because I've just never been a big Toy Story fan, honestly. I never have. I probably never will, just because they're not my favorites. I remember when Toy Story 5 came out, because it only came out a few weeks ago at this point, I was telling my friends, I was like, yeah, we're probably not going to see Toy Story 5, and Tyler was just shocked because he loves Toy Story. He's a diehard Toy Story fan. Yeah. And he says, like, how can you not be a Toy Story fan if you're such a big Disney person? I said, I just can't explain it. Yes. It just doesn't do anything for me. There are other movies and other franchises that Disney has that I like better. Yeah. And I have never really rewatched the Toy Story films. I have in the past, but in recent years, I have no want necessarily to rewatch the Toy Story films. So for me, that's my 31 to 27. Wow. Because they're all kind of ranked the same. I can't really rank them within the 5 of that.
Well, it's funny. Mine come up in a group 2 later. Yeah. Just very soon. But the first one I put against other ones only because of the nostalgia of the movie itself, I guess. But 2, 3, 4, and 5, I have no want to see. So.
Okay. So then what's in your 30 then?
Lightyear.
Okay.
I'd rather watch Toy Story something than Buzz Lightyear, the Lightyear movie just about Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, so ironically enough, I have Lightyear in my 26, so right above Toy Story.
See, I'm just opposite.
I have seen Lightyear before, and I actually did like Lightyear. There was nothing necessarily wrong with Lightyear when I watched it. I thought it was kind of a fun movie. I thought it was interesting. Okay. And I do like the concept that they made the film from the movie, so to speak. Again, Lightyear is supposed to be the film that Andy saw in Toy Story 1. They made him love Buzz Lightyear in the first place. So I love that concept. I'm like, this is what Andy actually saw. Like, I thought that was really cool. But again, because I'm not a big Toy Story fan, I'm also not a big Lightyear fan. So that's why Lightyear's also at 26.
Well, then we're already through 26 at this point because mine was Bug's Life, Lightyear, and then the 4 of the Toy Story movies. So we're at 25 now.
All right, so what's in your 25?
Turning Red.
Okay, Turning Red.
Yeah, the subject matter of that movie really didn't hold my attention to even watch it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah. In my 25, I have Cars 3. So Cars 3 is only in 25. It's actually it's really the only Pixar film I have not seen other than like Toy Story 5. Oh, okay. It's like I've seen all of the other ones at least once or twice. But yeah, but Cars 3, I just have not seen it. And that's to say, it's like I'm sure it's a great film. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I'm sure I will definitely see it in the future. I just haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. So that's why Cars 3 is there. All right, what's in your 24?
Well, that puts me Cars 3 and Cars 2 at 24 and 23 because I just had no want to see them. I thought the first one was cute. If I had to sit through it again, I would.
Well, you have seen Cars 2 because we watched Cars 2.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, we watched Cars 2 together.
Okay. Well, Cars 1 is up a little bit further because if I had to sit through that one, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's a cute little concept. But 2 and 3 are 23 and 24.
No, that's fine. All right, in my 24, this is where I have A Bug's Life. Because I remember at some point, a couple years ago, I suppose, I watched A Bug's Life and Ants at the same time. So Ants is like, they came out around the same time, and that was a Universal one.
I don't like Ants at all.
And it was funny, when I watched the 2 movies, I actually thought Ants was a better plot and film than A Bug's Life. Now, I would argue A Bug's Life has better animation, in my opinion, and like better, storyboarding and better background, images and things. Like, I think it was a more well-crafted movie. Right. But when it comes to plot and characters, I actually liked the Ants plot and characters better than A Bug's Life. Okay. I thought A Bug's Life was a little bit lacking in that sense. Again, that's not to say I disliked it. I just liked the other Bug movie better, so to speak. Okay. So that's why it just ranked low. Also, we're gonna get to a certain point here where some of these movies are all pretty good, and it's just like some of them get hard to rank.
They're hard to rank, yes. Once you start getting up there. Okay.
All right, what is in your 23?
Well, that was Cars 2. So
All
Cars
right,
3 and Cars 2 was up to 23.
All right, my 23 is Finding Dory. I will say I've only seen
okay.
Finding.
We're really similar here. Okay.
Yeah,
go
I've
ahead.
only seen Finding Dory once. I remember I liked it when I saw
cute,
it,
right.
but then I've never rewatched it.
No, it's not a rewatchable one.
Yeah, I
No.
never had an inkling to rewatch it.
Yeah.
But again, I remember I really did like it. I liked the concept again of like Dory finding her parents. I remember it was a really heartwarming film. I remember I cried during it as well too. But I remember I just never really wanted to rewatch it. Whereas I have rewatched Finding Nemo, so it's just like, all right, I guess Finding Dory.
Nemo's a whole different,
I guess it just gets ranked low just because of that. I'm sure probably I watch it tomorrow and I'm like, this is the best Pixar film. But
right.
so I suppose these rankings could always change depending upon when you rewatch or things going on in life. But
That was me. 23 is my Finding Dory.
Yeah, also 23. All right, so what's in your 22?
Elio.
Oh, I also
No, 22 is my Finding Dory because
22
23 is my
Elio.
Cars 2. 21 is my Elio.
Okay, so all right, so I'm only on 22 still.
Okay.
So my 22, that's where I have Elio. Is how it's.
Oh, okay. See, we're really close.
So
here.
again, this one was hard honestly because when I was doing my ranking, Elio actually started up kind of high and then it just got pushed down.
Me too.
It just kept getting
I know.
pushed down.
I know.
Again, nothing bad to say about Elio. I did like Elio. I
we're
thought
really
it was really
close
cute.
here. Okay,
but Elio again, it was good movie, but it just gets hard when you have other better movies. You know.
Okay, yeah, because my Finding Dory was 22 and my Elio was 21. So,
yes, that's 21 for you. His name is pronounced Elio.
Elio?
He keeps saying
Okay.
Elio. His
Elio, whatever.
All right, so in my 21, this is where I have Cars 2.
Oh, okay.
Again, I actually really like Cars 2. Honestly, looking at my list, I should have ranked it above for the Cars 1, so to speak, because I remember I liked Cars 2 better than Cars 1. Sometimes when it comes to sequels, I like the sequel better because you get to skip all of the exposition, all of the setups for things of the war, of the world and stuff. And it's just like, I don't know, sometimes you just want to be in the story, and then the second movie, you're already in the story. But I did really like Cars 2. I thought Cars 2 was great, honestly. That is the one where it's kind of like the spy movie a little bit. So it's like they're doing the world race and, Mater gets in the whole spy. All right, what's in here? 20.
Good Dinosaur.
Okay.
I thought that was a cute movie. It was just entertaining.
Yeah, that's fair. And my 20, again, this may be shocking, but this is where I have Incredibles. So Incredibles, I felt bad when Incredibles, and then in my 19, I have Incredibles 2, that they both ranked kind of low. Now, I do really like the Incredibles. Again, it's just hard because it's just other movies that Pixar's liked that have done better. But Incredibles, when I was a kid, they were never necessarily my rewatched favorites. Like, I never rewatched them over and over again. I always just kind of liked them, I guess
I hate to say it, but I'd say from like 10 all the way down, I've never really watched any of either didn't watch them or didn't rewatch them.
Well, what's in your 19?
My 19 is Cars.
Cars, okay. The first Cars movie.
Yeah, because I thought that was entertaining.
Yeah. All right. In my 18, this is where I have Turning Red. Again, I actually really liked Turning Red. The fact that Turning Red is ranking above some of these other films probably is also shocking. But I think it's just great. I feel like I'm going to like any movie, especially with Asian-centric characters, living, being highlighted. I think it's really great, especially it's like, I feel like you don't always see a lot of certain coming-of-age films for women, in that stage of life where it's like it has to do with puberty and with growing up and with certain, like, I would say, and not even like necessarily sensitive topics, but you often see it with boys that it's just like, oh, the boys coming of age films when they become like a man, so to speak. But this is one about a woman becoming, a woman, so to speak, in the history of her whole family, and then how it goes into the whole fantastical element of it too. But no, I just thought it was really fun, and I like that they had a movie to highlight it. Okay. Now, I don't think it did as well because it did not go to theaters. It just went straight to Disney Plus. I feel like if it went to theaters, maybe it would have done a little bit better. But I suppose we'll never know now. So, all right, what is in your 17 then?
No, I'm up to 18.
You're 18? Okay.
Yeah, MU.
Monsters University.
Yeah, Monsters University. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was fun. I think those characters are funny, so it's it makes you laugh, and that's why it's number 18.
All right, so what's in your 17 then?
17 is Toy Story.
Okay, the first Toy Story.
Right.
All right, that's fair. All right, my 17, I have Monsters Inc. So the first Monsters Inc.
Oh, okay, the first.
So again, this one was hard too because I do really like Monsters Inc. Again, I have Monsters University ranked higher is the thing, but yeah, I like the first Monsters Inc. But again, a lot of setup, a lot of exposition in the movie overall. But again, nothing bad to say about Monsters Inc. I'm super excited for Monstropolis once we get that in Hollywood studios. I think that will be really fun. Yeah. But again, nothing bad to say about Monsters Inc.
The characters are funny. Yeah. They're just entertaining.
I think I love the idea too of like the doors, so to speak. How it's just like the transferring between the realms, so to speak, through the doors. I always loved that concept. I thought it was really interesting, and I like too how Monsters Inc. really leans into like the monster in the closet, like the classic monster in the bed, monster in the closet. If you believe in that, when you're a kid, so, and then how it turns all around at the end. So I just like that idea. All right, what's in your 16?
Incredibles 2.
Incredibles 2.
Yeah, Incredibles too. I think it's a cute story. I think it's a family story. I always fall for the family stories, but I would never rewatch it. But I thought it was entertaining.
Yeah, again, I like The Incredibles a lot too, and I do like that it focuses on the family, especially Incredibles 2 on like the marital aspect between the two of them. I'm blanking on the name, so sorry, I'm blanking on their two names right now.
I love all the family stories.
But I like that concept. It's just like how, marriages do have struggles, especially with kids and when you have outside sources and work technically. Like if you boil it down, that's really what Incredibles 2 is kind of dealing with, is like the struggles with an internal family, but then they have these superpowers as kind of, that's going in there. So, but again, all to say, I do like Incredibles. Sorry it ranks so low. It's just hard. So wait, that was your number 16?
16.
All right, so my number 16 is the first Cars movie. Again, I probably could switch the first Cars movie and the second Cars movie because I really do just like the Cars movies.
This was very hard to do, I got to tell you.
Now, I'll say I love Radiator Springs in Disney California Adventure Park.
Well, that was good, yes.
I love Radiator Springs. I think that is so fun.
Yeah.
I think Cars in itself is really fun, and I think the Cars universe in general is just really fun. Like the idea, I always said, I think I said this like a year ago or something, that I wanted to do a deep dive into the Cars universe specifically, because if the Cars universe is supposed to just be people but with cars, because remember, for instance, that means there's a Cars Pope, you see the Cars Pope in the film. That means there's a Cars Jesus. That means there's a Cars religion that's going on in this universe. All kinds of other stuff. There's also Cars Flies as well too, so it's just like, how does like this universe work? So I don't know. And then also like, how come the tractors are supposed to be the cows? How come they're not as sentient as the other cars? So it's just like, I don't know, it's very interesting when you dive into
on Cars.
Yeah, when you dive into the universe.
Then we'll have to watch them again first.
Yeah, when you dive into the universe of the Cars universe, it's just very interesting. Now, of course, we're not even touching upon the whole Pixar theory in this episode. Again, another day, I think we're going to do the Pixar theory.
Yeah, there's always,
now, there are hours long YouTube videos on the Pixar theory. It's partially why we haven't done it, just because I would never be able to do like a 5-hour episode on how in depth the Pixar theory really goes. And again, the Cars universe does place into the Pixar theory at different points in time. And so again, if you're looking from the Pixar theory versus just the Cars universe as, siloed in the Cars universe versus the Pixar theory, it can change, I would say.
I'm looking at all these movies just as movies. That's it.
So am I. Today we're just ranking based on how we like them. Yeah.
Entertainment.
We're just ranking them based how we like them, how much they brought joy to our lives.
My time.
Things like that, but one day it's like, we'll probably dive into the Pixar theory at some point or another. So, all right, what is in your 15? We're in the top 15 now. WALL-E, okay.
Yeah, and I've not seen the whole, I have to be honest that I've not seen the whole WALL-E movie. I think I've seen like maybe 3/4 of it, and I thought it was cute.
Why didn't you watch the whole film?
I don't know. For some reason, I guess I never got to finish it, and we got busy, and maybe I walked away from it or something. I saw it on on TV somewhere, but I thought it was a really cute concept and a really cute character. Just the way they portrayed it, I kind of liked watching it. So for me, the entertainment value was at 15.
For sure. All right, this is where I have Inside Out 2, the second one.
Okay.
Now again, I really liked Inside Out 2. Nothing bad to say about Inside Out 2. I love the whole concept of Inside Out in a general sense, with the emotions and everything and the colors and everything that you see. And again, nothing bad to say about Inside 2. It just again, it's just hard. It gets hard when you get to these top few where it's just like, oh, there's just a lot of things you like about these movies. That's for sure. All right, what's in your 14?
Up.
Okay.
Now, I've never even seen Up all the way through. I've seen a lot of shots from it. I've seen a lot of ideas from it. I've seen all kinds of things about it. I've never actually sat down and watched the whole movie, but the whole concept of it catches my heart.
Okay, no, that's fair. All right, in 14, this is where I have The Good Dinosaur. I think I would argue say The Good Dinosaur is one of the most underrated Pixar films. I feel like most people don't even know this movie exists.
No,
like if you even
when I first saw it, I was like, wait a minute, which one was that?
Yeah, it's like I feel like a lot of people don't even know. And it's like, I remember I thought this movie was great. I think I cried like 3 different times in The Good Dinosaur. It is so underrated. There is no merchandise for it. Disney never talks about The Good Dinosaur. There is no standout songs or like melodies from The Good Dinosaur that has, lasted.
And you would think being Dinosaur, they would play on that because kids love dinosaurs.
It's really the main dinosaur movie, I say in quotes, that Disney has. But again, not a lot for The Good Dinosaur. And I feel like it's so underrated, but it is such a good movie. I actually have rewatched this movie, which is why I know I really like it as well too. And I think, again, I really just like dinosaurs. Like when we were kids, we loved The Land Before Time. Obviously, that's not a Disney film. But me and my brother, we loved The Land Before Time and all of those characters.
You would think that they would have jumped on that with little kids and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess maybe it just didn't do well. And I don't know. I think maybe if they had a sequel or something, maybe it would pick it back up again. But I don't know. Just interesting all to say. Like, think about it. The Cars series has like 3 full feature films, multiple TV shows, multiple animated shorts.
Merchandise, everything.
Yeah, merchandise. It's like the main, I'd say in quotes, little boy's film. So you would think The Good Dinosaur would also be in that bucket of quotes, the main getting little boys
the
down.
dinosaurs.
Now, of course, these movies should not be gendered, just to say, but just if you go stereotypical interests of boys versus girls, so to speak, Cars is, again, stereotypically for, like boys have more interest in them. But again, same thing with dinosaurs. So how come there's not more capitalization on the Good Dinosaur? Just interesting, just to say. All right, what's in your 13?
The Incredibles. The original Incredibles. I thought that was fun, cute. I mean, the whole idea, like you said, I fall for the family movies.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, in my 13, I have Inside Out, the first Inside Out. Again, it's hard because I really like Inside Out. Initially, this was in my top 10, and then it just got pushed down by some other films. But again, I love Inside Out. I love the concept of the emotions. I think that's my favorite thing about the emotions, especially when you get to Inside Out 2, and there are other emotions that can be in like the central, so to speak, and how they kind of go in and out of like which emotions are the most relevant to your current time frame, and then maybe as you get older, it's like maybe other emotions may switch out or something like that. Right. I think that's really interesting. I love the concept of thinking how the brain works and how your personalities develop and ebb and change over time, especially in that first Inside Out when they do, I guess I should have said we're gonna have spoilers throughout a lot of this film or a lot of this episode, but especially too when Riley, she starts to struggle a little bit after the move, and like those central pillars of her personality are like breaking down, and the emotions are like, what do we do? Like this can't be happening. Right. But it's just because those are breaking down, so other things in her life are going to build back up. So I think that's really interesting, and I think that happens over time too, that your interests ebb and flow. Things that were core values for you when you were 5 years old are not core values for you in your 20s.
Everything changes.
Yeah, and I think that's just natural, and I think it's interesting too to see the emotions deal with that in real time, as a child is growing up and learning. So again, I love Inside Out. Crazy that's 13, but it is. So all right, what's in your 12?
That's Inside Out 2.
Inside Out 2, okay.
Yeah, Inside Out 2, because like I said, I like both of the movies, but I like the original one better than the second. I think because of the concept, it kept my attention, and then when we got to the second one, it was like, okay, it's good, but the first one was better. All
right, that was your 12?
Yeah, that was 12.
All right, my 12, this is where I have Up. So I love Up. I remember I saw Up when it came out in theaters with a friend in high school, and everyone knows the first 10 minutes of Up are the saddest 10 minutes you'll ever see in your entire life.
I know.
I remember the girl I was with, she like left the theater because she was crying so hard. I like felt so bad for her. I was like, do you want me to come with you? She's like, no, it's okay.
I'll just go out and
I was like,
myself.
I mean, like I was crying too, because especially at that point, we didn't know what the movie was about. Right. So it's like you just knew the trailers, and this was also really before social media.
It's such a sad movie.
Yeah, it's like pre-social media. You didn't really know this was going to happen. So I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like, we're really hitting home in like the first 10 minutes of the film. But I really like Up. It's funny because I feel like the story of Up is just so interesting, and I feel like it's different from I think what I thought it was going to be about when I saw it, and even when I rewatched it, it's always different. I'm like, oh, I forgot this happened in Up. I was like, oh, I forgot this characters were in Up. So. But I will say the song Marriage Life, which is the main melody that's in the movie that you hear a lot throughout Disney, I do love that melody so much. I like taught it to myself on the piano and stuff because I just think it's so pretty. So yeah, but I love Up. I feel like so many people love Up. I know Up is my friend Laura, that's like her favorite Pixar film is Up. She has a lot from the Up movie, and yeah, Up is great. Nothing bad to say about Up. So yeah, so when do you have to watch the whole film start to finish? Because you'll probably be crying the first 10 minutes.
I'll be crying because it does it deals with a whole bunch of stuff about losing your wife. He loses his wife. I mean, he loses his love. I mean, that's what you do, and nobody wants to be reminded of that.
All right, what's in your 11?
My 11 is Ratatouille.
Ratatouille, okay.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting, fun. It was just a real fun movie. Just the characters, the everything what goes on. I thought it was fun.
All right, and my number 11, I have Monsters University. So I do like Monsters University over Monsters Inc. I think I like Monsters University because I thought it was really fun to see I feel like you saw more of the Monsters world in Monsters University. Like
how they,
Yeah, because I feel like Monsters Inc. is more focused on how they get the screams, things with Boo and everything, like that whole storyline. Whereas Monsters University, we're just in the whole Monsters world to begin with. So
to see all the
you
different
just get
characters.
to see the world building of of their Monsters world more, and I thought that was super fun and super interesting. I also really love the idea still, obviously, because it's a prequel, that it takes place when they're still aiming to scare kids and everything, and I thought that was really fun too, that it's like here was the monsters at their core, but they were still good people, and they still had their own struggles, and they still had all these things, where if you did have a monster under your bed, so to speak, it's like, oh yeah, maybe they have feelings too, type of thing. So yeah, but I thought Monsters University was so fun. I think it also came out when I was in university, when I was in college, so it was kind of like a funny thing to be like, I'm in college, or I'm about to be in college, and this movie about college students that just came out, which I think is really interesting, because if we look at all of these movies, it's the only movie that really takes place like in college, so to speak. Even a lot of the other Disney animation films,
when you think about it, none of them are really in,
like a lot of them aren't really, some of them touch on school aspects, but like not necessarily college aspects. And so I mean, like Andy goes to college in Toy Story 3, I realized, but we don't see him in college. So,
No.
But that's what I'm saying. I think it's the fun college film to that certain extent. So, and I feel like it also reminds you too, like how young you really are in college. I feel like when you're in college, you're like, I'm like at the top of the world type of thing. I'm an adult now.
You think you're an adult.
I'm on my own. But then you look back and you're like, actually, I was so young. You know, it's like you really are quite young still. Yeah, when you're in college. And I feel like Monsters University does that really well, where it's like they feel like this is the start of their life, but at the same time, they're still so young and they're still learning so much too. So love Monsters University. And I love the concept too that they don't graduate. I thought that was a really great aspect, that they don't finish college.
I don't remember that.
They get kicked out of college because of all
I don't remember that.
Because of all the shenanigans. They get kicked out of college, but they still go on to have successful careers.
Oh, wow.
And I feel like that shows too, you can be successful with college, but you can be successful without going to college.
Right.
So, you know, again, just two different things. Again, really love Monsters University. I realize it's technically not in my top 10, which is wild, and I'm speaking of it so much. But all right, what is in your number 10? We made it to our top 10.
Number 10 is Monsters, Inc.
Monsters, Inc., okay.
Yes, because it was one of those movies that I really believe was like I said, I'd have to watch all these movies again to actually really, really do this. And I didn't have time to watch 31 movies when you gave me the list.
I know.
So I'm going on what I remember. And I remember when we saw Monsters, Inc., I thought it was very interesting about the characters, like you said. And at that point, I had kids. So, you know, the monster under the bed, I can't sleep, I can't do this. There's somebody in the closet. There's still got this going on, that going on.
Yeah, I was scared of my closet when I was a kid. I thought there were monsters.
Yeah, so I think that's why it hit home with me, is that, you know, watch this movie, see?
The monsters have feelings too.
Yeah, see?
All right, we are, again, this is our top 10 now. So in my number 10, this is where I have Hoppers. So Hoppers is one of the newer Pixar films, but I really loved Hoppers. I thought Hoppers was great. I think the concept of putting your consciousness into an animal's consciousness is my dream come true. That is, if I could do that, I would do that in a second. It's like I'd be saving every dollar to become a billionaire to be able to do that type of thing. But I really loved the idea of Hoppers too, how it boiled it down to there's one specific character that Mabel is just trying to save one piece of the environment. Because I feel like sometimes, especially when it comes to environmentalism, again, I became a vegetarian for environmental purposes. That is like you're trying to save the world, you're trying to save the environment, but at the end of the day, you're trying to save your backyard specifically. And I love that that's what that movie really highlights. That is what Mabel is trying to do. She's trying to say something that's sentimental to her, that no one's listening to her.
Attention to.
And then it gets into all the drama with the beavers and with the, you know, the rest of the animals and everything. And then that movie escalates so hard. The fact that there is an attempted murder and attempted assassination in that movie is wild.
That's why it's way up my list.
That's attempted, and then a full-on assassination. Mabel kills someone. We have on-screen manslaughter in that movie. So
it just had so much going on.
But that's why I loved it. I'm like, this is unhinged. This is great. I love that the Pixar writers are saying, let's go as unhinged as possible. And I thought Hoppers was so fun. Again, I feel like it's a little underrated because it's still new. I think, you know, we'll see if it lasts the test of time, so to speak. But again, I thought Hoppers was great. So that is why it ended up ranking so much higher than some of the other Pixar films. All right, what is in your number 9?
Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo, yeah.
Finding Nemo I thought was entertaining. You know, it was entertaining. It was funny. I loved any kind of fish movies, anything with that kind of tropical thing. And it was entertaining and it was fun. And the whole idea of the father, you know, going for his son, doing anything he had to do to rescue him. And all the trials and tribulations. Of course, with Dory in there, that just made it hysterical. So that, you know, just offset that. I thought it was a good movie.
No, for sure. All right, again, I'll talk about Finding Nemo when I get to it. But in my number 9, this is where I have WALL-E. So WALL-E was hard because, again, it ranked in my top 5 for a little bit. And then, again, just got pushed down by some other movies. But, again, I love WALL-E. Again, going back to the whole environmental aspect. Again, the environment is one of my top, I would say, philanthropic things that I feel on the inside. That and, like, animals. I say animals maybe a bit more because I really love animals. But, again, just philanthropic-wise, is like, yeah, I think the environment is so important. And I think WALL-E does a really good job at highlighting that, but not making it too in your face, so to speak. Of saying, you know, and also at the same time, it's also really funny. Like, there's a lot of funny moments in it. Like, the main character of WALL-E can't speak, which I think is amazing when you think about the storytelling of WALL-E, that all he can really say is WALL-E, but yet you have a whole movie based around this main character who is not speaking, I say in quotes, proper English. And so I just think that's amazing that you can still follow it. You see all his characteristics, all his emotions, everything is just so well thought out that it just like, and when you watch the movie start to end, you're just crying, you know, at the whole thing about for humanity, for the robots themselves, for the earth. It's just so incredible in that sense.
Well, it's funny because my mind is racing because I remember recently we did something where there was some movie, wasn't a Pixar movie, I don't think it was a regular movie, where they didn't talk, but yet the emotion in the face, in the eyes, in the just the whole sense just portrayed everything. And I think that's amazing when they can do that. And it's especially, I guess, amazing when they can do it with Wally.
Yeah, because again, Wally does and Eve does, and she is the main character. And then, of course, once you get to the ship, all the humans speak, and they add a lot more elements of it too. Right. But again, I just loved Wally. Wally is such a classic. Okay. Again, I know they've always been talking about if they're going to do a second Wally. I don't know if they are, if they aren't. I don't know what they would do in a second Wally, honestly. But anyway, though, loved Wally. That is why it had to make the top 10. So, all right, what is in your number 8?
Elemental.
I
thought Elemental was fun. I think the whole relationships, the whole how it works out, what the feelings are, just how they portrayed them, the family, the parents, the everything that's going on. It just kept me entertained.
No, for sure. All right, in my number 8, this is where I have Finding Nemo. I think Finding Nemo is one of the most classic Pixar films. Like if you're thinking Pixar films, I think you think Toy Story, for instance. That's obviously the more classic one. But I think Finding Nemo is up there. Like everyone says, like, Finding Nemo to be a Pixar film. And I say that in the sense that a lot of Disney animation films and Pixar films, it gets confusing which one is which.
Right, which
who
one's
was made
which.
by who.
Yes, it does.
So that's why sometimes when you look at this list and then you look at the Disney animated films, I'm like, oh, they're different. Like I know we're currently doing our throwback into all of the Disney eras, but those are only focusing on the Disney animated films. We're not talking about the Pixar films in those eras because that's Disney animation. So I feel like though Finding Nemo, again, is classic Pixar. It is the first film where they had to create whole new animation techniques to animate water, the way that they animated underwater for that. That was one of the pinnacle points of that film that has gone on, again, to last the test of time. It started a lot of ways of how animators were going to animate moving water to be underwater. And I just think that's amazing. So I just really love it. Again, obviously the story is very heartwarming, very touching as well.
Right, that's what I mean. You just follow the story and then everything else falls into place.
Yeah, it's so fun in that sense. Again, the whole journey. And again, I feel like too, that's one of those films that's like, oh yeah, it's like my parents would do that for me too. Like you could show that movie to your kid and be like, that would be me with you. If you disappear,
whatever it
you
took.
go to the ends of the earth to find you.
Find you.
So, all right, just love Finding Nemo. All right, what is in your number 7?
I'm on 8.
Well, what was your number 8?
No, I'm sorry. I am on 7. Inside Out.
Inside Out. Okay, first.
Inside Out because of the emotions. I mean, I'm an emotional person. Everybody knows that by now. I get very excited. As Amanda was telling me before, when we test the microphones, I talk very nice. And then when I get started, can't control the microphones because I get so excited and so emotional about things. So I think Inside Out really hit a core because, like I said, it's everything inside of you. Your anger, your sadness, your depression, the way you feel certain days and the way some things take over. I thought that was an amazing thing to portray it right out there and to show, like, especially like you said, when kids are watching this movie, to say, look, you do have emotions. They're all running all over the place, but they do get controlled this way or that way, or you have to think about them that way.
The nuances between them.
Yes, as an adult, sometimes I have to be reminded of that. So I think that's why Inside Out made it to my at least number 7.
No, again, I love Inside Out, the whole Inside Out franchise. Looking forward to Inside Out 3. Yeah. So, all right. So in my number 7, this is where I have Ratatouille. So Ratatouille was hard for me because I do love Ratatouille. My main struggle with Ratatouille, why I didn't rank higher, but it's still ranked within my top 10 because I still love it so much. One, I love anything with rats. I love a rat. I was born in the year of the rat. I was always going to love the rat movie. Nothing was going to prevent me from loving the rat movie taking place in Paris. Okay. I love Paris too since I was a kid. Yeah. But 2, my only thing I say I don't like about Ratatouille is that I struggle with movies where the whole plot of the movie hinges on a lie, like one specific lie.
Oh, okay.
And the whole plot of Ratatouille hinges on the fact that Linguini can't cook, but he has a rat on his head helping him cook. Right. Now, obviously, it's a fantastical movie.
We talked about that before in one of the other podcasts.
Yeah, so we just accept it for what it is.
Right.
But again, that lie, though, because in any film when it's hinged around one lie, that the lie is going to have to come out and that is going to be the climax of the film. Right. And so sometimes I just don't always like that formula of like how that is going to happen. How that's going to happen.
On that formula.
There are again, Ratatouille is not the only one, but there are a lot of films that happen. I mean, like even some of my top ones have again lie that hinges on a lie. But again, sometimes I struggle with that one. But in Ratatouille, I specifically struggled because I forget the main antagonist character's name, but he knows the lie, like he knows. And so it's like you're just waiting in anticipation of what's going to happen as well too the whole time. And then once it unravels everything the rats and with the humans, it just unravels so I think well though is all to say, and that's why I still really like Ratatouille because I think it unravels in a really intelligent way, in a really fun way too, and a really a very entertaining way in that sense where you still have so much at stake, You have the health and safety of the Parisian people at stake. Let's not forget as well. That I think it all pays off in the end, though, which is why I really like it. Right. But again, I love Ratatouille. I love Remy so much. I think Remy's one of the cutest characters Disney has ever really come up with.
And I love made him the most adorable.
Yeah, thing. And I love that he's a rat. So it's like, I love that it's like we have this perfect little rat character who, again, going against all the odds. Again, you assume rats would eat any type of food, but no, here's this little rat who has a sense for flavor.
Yes.
I can't say I agree. I personally am not a foodie, actually. I'm not a foodie at all. I eat this like the same two things every single day. But yeah, but I love that, that he's just beating the odds in that sense. I love Remy. All right, what is in your number 6?
Onward,
okay.
I thought Onward was touching. The brothers, the father figure, the whole thing going on. I thought Onward just kept my attention because of the touching bond that was being formed there.
No, for sure. All right, in my number 6, this is where I have Brave. So I do love Brave. Brave is the only official Disney princess that was made by Pixar also as well. I think the reason why when Merida first came out that she wasn't popular was because they didn't have any music in Brave. But I feel like over the years she's picked up in popularity, which is why I say some of them will last the test of time, so to speak, even if they weren't popular within the first, maybe 2 or 3 years. They would just, blow up in popularity 10 years down the road, which I think is really great. And I feel like that's what happened with Brave as well too, that she just became really popular almost out of nowhere sometimes. But when the first movie came out, a lot of people didn't really care for it. Now I think the movie wasn't marketed well when it first came out because I think no one knew that the mom was going to turn into a bear, and that's the entire plot of the movie is that the mom is a bear. She's trying to get the bear to turn back.
Kind of odd, yes.
So yeah, it's kind of odd in that sense. But again, I really like that too. Again, you have the mother-daughter relationship, again, like that relationship, the stereotypical princess who's trying not to do what her family wants to do. She wants to be her own person. So it has a lot of those classic princess and Disney characteristics within it, which I think are really fun. And also too, I feel like Merida herself is just such a strong character, someone to really look up to, and also very loving too at the same time. Like she's not selfish in any way. Like she's still, like she has 3 younger brothers. She still loves her 3 younger brothers no matter what. Like she's still going to do for them what she would do, but she still wants to be her own person and rule in her own right as well too. So I think that's really great. And again, I love Brave. Thought it was a great movie. All right, what's in your number 5?
Luca.
Luca.
I thought Luca was adorable.
I like how our top 10 are almost all the same.
Yes,
just in slightly different order.
I thought Luca was adorable. I mean, he was an adorable character. Maybe because I have a son named Luke, it helped when I was watching it, going, yes, getting into trouble, doing this, doing that with his friend, I just thought that Luca was just an entertaining movie. When I walked out of it, I was like, oh, that was fun kind of thing. And sometimes I just want to go and just look at a movie to have fun.
For sure. I know we're in our top 5 now, so I feel like our top 5 are almost pretty similar.
Going to be the similar.
In my number 5, I have Elemental. So this is where I put Elemental. I loved Elemental. I think, again, when it came out, it actually ended up doing really well in the box office. And so especially internationally, I think it did very well as too. But if you like a rom-com, Elemental is the most classic rom-com you could possibly have. It is just too true. Again, if you look at this whole list, if you say like which movie is the romance plot, it is Elemental.
It's the Elemental, only one like I said, with her and the boyfriend and the parents.
And again, technically Cars 2 is also a romance as well, which is ironic that you have 2 cars falling in love. But again, when you really look at it, it's just like Elemental is the one that's just like, here is your classic rom-com that is just so funny. You have the 2 Romeo and Juliet from opposite sides meeting each other. How is this relationship going to work? Again, I think it also deals with a lot of microaggressions and micro-racism really well in this world that can be introduced to kids on a, again, more friendly aspect to say, this is actually what happens to people, especially since, again, the flame people are supposed to represent Asian communities when you watch it. And, again, it just talks about how the world is not built for the flame people. The same way our world is not really built for people with disabilities, that we need to be more accommodating and, I forget the exact term, but it's not accessible, but it's just making it so that everyone can just be able to use the world. Everyone can just live in the world together. And again, in Elemental, the flame people can't do that. They can't just live in the world and be themselves because they're always going to be ostracized or they're always going to be left out of certain things because they're made of fire, you know? But then you find ways where Wade, he's the one who says like, actually, that doesn't have to be. There are ways that you can do it, and he helps her figure it out and say, it's like, wow, look how the world could be constructed if we actually just changed our infrastructure and actually listened to each other and actually cared about people as a whole, so to speak. And again, this is all wrapped up in a little rom-com,
I know.
So but that's why I love Elemental. I feel like it touched on so many great elements that, again, was a little underrated in that sense, but so good. And I thought the world of it was so beautiful. The way they crafted the world of Elemental was absolutely phenomenal. I hope they do a sequel for Elemental, because I would be interested to see more of the world because we only see the one city that they're in.
Right, just the city
But of course, at the end, her and Wade leave to go elsewhere. So I'd love to see more of the world. I think that would be really interesting. But again, I loved Elemental. Such a great movie, such an underrated movie as well, too. All right, what is in your number 4?
Soul is I watched it. I think the whole idea of him and his personality and his struggle and everything else that went on, I just loved it. And I love jazz and blues. I love blues the most. I'm a blues fan. So the whole idea of the movie, just the music, the layout, who he interacts with, everything about it just kept me entwined in it. And I love that movie.
No, for sure. All right, in my number 4, this is where I have Onward. I agree. I loved Onward. I think Onward, again, some of these top ones I have, I feel like were underrated because they came out during COVID, so they did not get the actual releases.
The stuff they should have.
So Onward came out in March of 2020. Tough time to release a movie, right? Right at the start of COVID. March of 2020 is when Onward came out.
But it was touching.
Again, Onward was such a great film. I thought Onward was so fun. First of all, I'm a big fantasy person in a general sense. I love anything to do with fantasy. I read a lot of fantasy books. It's the main genre of what I read.
Yeah, I don't do
so
that.
now you're in a world where you actually have the monsters and those fantasy elements that are basically Dungeons and Dragons. That is essentially the world that they live in. So interesting, so fun in that sense. And again, just the whole concept of the it's like they boil down something so sad of them losing their father to him just having just his pants, so to speak. So comical in that sense. And then going through the journey of trying to again fully resurrect the father and everything. Yeah. It's just again the way that they crafted it was just so funny. Right. And again, stakes were very high on that sense too, of like the whole storyline. So I feel like you're kind of on the edge of your seat of like, are they going to succeed in this journey that they're in? They're being chased the whole time as well too.
Right.
By like the mom's new boyfriend, which I think is so funny as well. But again, it deals with a lot of those classic things as like, oh, your father passed away, your mother now is dating someone else, you're still kind of young.
You gotta deal with all that.
Yeah,
it's
again
emotional.
too. And I remember too, cried so hard at the end of that film.
Yes, I even cried in this movie. This
cried
movie
so
touched
hard
me.
at the end of that film. That one, we won't get into all of it because we'll probably start crying right now. No. But cried so hard at the end of Onward. Onward was so good. I would love a sequel to Onward to continue their stories as well, because I think I'd be curious to see where they may go on to. Yeah. Because again, I think he's in high school, technically the main character, and then his brother's supposed to be in college or something like that. I'm not sure what their exact ages are.
I don't remember the exact ages. I just remember the bond between them and how they helped each other.
Yeah, and how he realizes like I didn't have a father, but I had my brother. You know,
I can tell you, I cried at this one. So yes.
Onward is so good. I love Onward.
Amanda cries at all the movies.
So underrated. I didn't cry during Elio. That's why Elio got ranked so low. Sorry to Elio. I didn't cry during Elio. But anyway, though, so I mean, like Elio there were a lot of sad parts in Elio too. But I mean, like all these movies kind of have sad parts to a certain extent. But again, Onward is so good. All right, what is in your number 3?
Hoppers. I think Hoppers was just like you said, had so much going on, so much she was trying to do.
Hoppers is so fun.
The concept of the animals, the whole idea of the animals, the way they portrayed the animals. I think because I also just saw it just recently, I think it was in my brain that when I remember doing the podcast on it, when we walked out of that movie, I was like, I did not expect it to be that good. Yeah, I think I went to Hoppers with the idea of, okay, we have to go see it. We have to do a podcast on it. Let's go see it. Let's see what it's like, whatever. And I walked out of there going, oh my God, the plot, the storyline, the feelings, the emotions, the animals, her, everybody. I just said to myself, oh my God, that was a really good movie. So I think it took me like by surprise. And I think because of that, that's why it's up in my top 3, because I really did enjoy that movie.
No, again, I feel like Hoppers could have been ranked higher for me too. And initially it was a little bit higher ranked, but again, I guess some of the classic Pixar just had to push it down, unfortunately. Yeah. But again, I loved Hoppers. I thought it was so good. And again, I hope Pixar continues with the unhinged writing. I love the unhinged writing. I know Hex is coming out later in 2026. But yeah, the unhinged writing is fun. I hope we get more of that. More of that.
It was just great. It was just, and the movie ended and I was like, oh, it's over. Like I wasn't saying, oh, is this almost over? How long have we been sitting here? Like, I mean, some of the movies I look at them, they're very entertaining. They have nice, things. Hoppers just kept me entertained the whole time. I thought it was, and as an adult,
there are so many twists and turns in Hoppers that you were just like, it could struggle after struggle.
Yes,
really,
it was just great. So
my number 3. This is where I have Coco. So I loved Coco. I remember we saw Coco in theaters. This was a Thanksgiving release specifically, and Coco is so great. The music in Coco is so beautiful. I love that again. Miguel is saying, he's like, I this is what I really want. I think it's really funny to a certain extent that the family is like, you can't play music because your grandfather was like horrible to the family. It's like, at what point do we move on from past grievances of people who passed away a long time ago?
to that.
And also, like, they have to, you know, they were only shoemakers to a certain extent. But again, I love the idea that, again, he was like, no, it's like, I'm going against my family. I'm going to do what I want to do. Now, again, this movie technically also hinges on a lie to a certain extent when he does get into the afterlife and he's pretending to be one of the dead as well, too. So, again, you know, that's all going to unravel at some point. But again, we got lots of attempted murder in Coco as well. Also, I think also full murder. I'm pretty sure the main guy killed the great-grandfather, technically.
Probably, yes.
So they heavily allude to it. So I'm just like, we got on-screen murder now going on, which is wild to say. Changed the entire trajectory of this family, which definitely happens in real life too, that one person's decision can change the entire trajectory of a family. But yeah, but I love the concept too. I like how it highlights on a lot of really cultural aspects of Mexican and Latino culture. I think that's really fun. Again, a lot of learning in that sense as well. Also really sad too, because when you are in, like, when he gets to that afterlife scene, first of all, beautiful. The colors, the imagination takes to build it, beautiful. But how you see all those people, and again, the idea of like how it's important to remember those who have passed since they still influence your present, even though they may have passed a long time ago. Also, I love the idea too that the movie is called Coco, and that's his grandmother, and she's in theory not the main character. No. So, but the whole movie is called her. The main character is Miguel and his great grandfather to that extent. So again, I think Coco was so well crafted. Obviously, it's one of the most popular Pixar films, I would say, overall. A lot of people love Coco. Disney has been doing more with it. There's a lot of theories that's going to be a ride for Coco in the future as well. So we'll see if that ends up happening. I think that would be really fun if they did a ride for Coco. I guess we'll see. But all right, what is in your number 2 or in our top 2 now?
Brave to me, of course, it's mother-daughter, the whole thing about the love and what happens and how, you know, it perseveres. How she, like you said, she wants to be her own person, but she's got those family ties that keep her and support her. And when she finally realizes that's what the case is that you can be your own person, but you still have that love. You still have everything going for it. I agree. I think that it was not portrayed when it first came out as being one of the top movies, but it made an impression on me when we saw it. And I have to say that it's one of my favorites. Out of the princesses, she's one of my favorites because I think that strong personality is what I think caught my attention.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like you and Grandma to a certain extent, because Grandma was always trying to put you in a box to be a certain way, and you were like, I'm not going to be in this box. I'm going to be my own person.
Yeah, that was me my whole time growing up. You can do whatever you want. I love you dearly, Mom, but nope, not going to turn me into what you think I should be.
Would you have turned Grandma into a bear?
No, I would never turn Grandma into a bear. But me and Grandma did not see eye to eye on what kind of person I wanted to be. Yeah. I loved her dearly, still love her dearly. Credit her with being the best mother in the world, because I was well fed, well taken care of, loved. I mean, it was great, but me and her did not see eye to eye on what kind of person I wanted to be.
Yep, that's fair.
So that Brave really hit home.
All right, so in my number 2, this is where I have Luca. So Luca was hard. Luca was my number 1 for a little bit, but I love Luca. Again, another movie that came out during COVID that was underrated. Yes. But I think Luca is so fun, though. I think he's just such a cute character.
I know,
Him and
he's
Alberto,
so cute.
They're so cute. I love Italy, too, so I am so excited for Gatto for next year, because
can't wait.
I know Gatto is probably going to be my favorite movie ever. Because I love Italy, I love cats, I love animals. It's like, I know that movie's going to skyrocket. We want to put them all together. Even the little teaser scene that they released a couple weeks ago, I loved it so much. So, but again, I love Luca as soon as anything in Italy, especially Italy's a beautiful country in a general sense. So first of all, beautiful country. I love that you have the fun, like, sea monsters underwater, the aspect of that you have in the Mediterranean, that are there sea monsters in the Mediterranean. It's like, I think that was really fun. I think it's like so sad too, because Alberto is just like by himself. It's like he's basically an orphan, right?
Yes.
But again, how he does get adopted by the end, how him and Alberto, they become friends. How Luca is kind of like the Little Mermaid to a certain extent, honestly. He's in the ocean, but he kind of wants to live that human life and go to school and like learn more things. And Alberto is like, no, I don't want to do that. That's silly, you know? But at the same time, he finds happiness in other ways as well. And so I think that's really fun. I think the little challenges that they do when they have to, I forget, I know it's like a triathlon, but they had to like eat a whole bowl of pasta and like bike up this thing. They had to do the swimming aspect. I remember I thought that was so funny to just be like, as someone who's a marathon runner, I'm like, that's so funny that it's like, of course in Italy, it was like, you got to eat this whole bowl of pasta
before you
do all this like massive exercise. And so I don't know, I thought Luca was so heartwarming. I think it's one of the best films, honestly. And that's why I ranked on my number 2. There was no doubt in my mind this is going to be one of my top ones, because I've always loved Luca. And again, it's like, I think it's just such a fun movie too. So, all right, we have made it to our number 1. This is going to be such a long episode. I know I've been speaking quickly in this episode. It's to try to speed up.
Yeah, because there's so many to talk about.
Yeah, so we're not here for an hour. What is in your number 1?
Coco.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons you mentioned, as you were saying it, you know, I come from an Italian background with family. Everything that happens in your family does change the trajectory of what goes on. what my parents had to do when they were, younger, how they had to follow certain things. When people die, how you remember them, how you feel about them, what you think about them. A lot of cultural things come into Coco. Take that, add it to the, like you said, the colors, the music, the celebrations, everything that goes on, and how he has to go, and how he's like going through this, trying to figure out what to do and how to do it, and all the other little things that are going on in this movie. I have to admit, when we saw Coco, I remember walking out of that theater going, wow. Because at that point, that had been the most flamboyant Pixar movie that I remembered seeing at that point. Like you said, you had all the other ones. You had, the Toy Stories and the, Finding Nemo and this. When Coco happened, when we came out of Coco, it was just a whole different feel when we came out of Coco.
No, for sure. Again, I love Coco. I mean, like, so does, I feel like, everyone else. It's one of the most popular Pixar films in general. But I think a Coco ride would be really fun. So I guess we'll see. Again, Coco, I think, is one of the best films they have created. Obviously, they are doing a sequel to Coco.
Right.
So I'm excited to see what the sequel is going to highlight and what it's going to be about. So I'm very excited for that. But that brings me to my number one, which is Soul. I love Soul. Soul is more personal for me, but I just love Soul. I thought it was so great. Again, another COVID film, if you think about it. A lot of the COVID films, I feel like, were so good.
Didn't get what it needed.
But just didn't get anything at all because, it just got overshadowed by the sadness of the actual world, so to speak.
Yes.
But I feel like if Soul had a theatrical release, I think it probably would have done better. Same thing with Luca. I think if Luca had a theatrical release, I think it also would have done better.
Yes, I think they both would have done much better. Yes.
But again, I think Soul was so great. I think the idea too of the great beyond and the great before, it's like very interesting concepts, honestly. Because in theory, that everything would start with the great before, and then we all would move, I say in theory, to the great beyond as well. I think that was really interesting how they dealt with that. I think it had so many funny elements in it too. I think the idea too, I say in quotes, the purpose of life. So again, Joe thinks that it's like my whole life is pivoted around being a musician, as being this person. I'm waiting for my big break. And as someone who did theater and music when I was a kid, that's how I felt too. All right, editing Amanda coming back in because I did get a little emotional when we were recording. I will say you hear my mom and I laugh about it later on. But again, for me, Soul just really hits home in a very personal way. When I was younger, I did theater and music all throughout, high school, middle school years. And I really thought that was going to be my life, was that theater and music, that was it. That was going to be my whole life. That was my purpose. And so when that ended up not being my life, when I ended up pivoting and I no longer do theater or music as like a career, so to speak, I felt so lost and I felt so confused for a really long time. And I feel like when I watched Soul, because Soul came out after, everything for me had happened. When I watched Soul and I watched Joe go through his journey when he thinks that my purpose, my thing is music. This is going to be what I'm going to do. And then as he learns slowly over time that it's like, wait, there's so much more to life than this one singular purpose I thought that I was meant for. It just meant so much to me because that's exactly what I went through, where I thought my whole life was going to be theater, and then when it wasn't, I suddenly had to pivot and I turned. But there were so much other things in life, so much other things that I loved doing, so many more interests that I had as well, so much more beauty in the small things of life that I was sort of blinded by because I kept telling myself, well, theater's your thing, you're the theater kid, you're the theater person. And that's the same thing that Joe did. And so when I watched the film the first time, I was just like, this is what I did. This is literally art reflecting my exact life right now in this character. And what he's going through, it's like I've gone through what he's going through right now. And it just means so much to me to see that portrayed on such a big screen and to say, again, like all those kind of philosophical type meanings of saying there's so much more to life than just one thing in your life. There's so much more to life than just that one singular interest, that one singular purpose that you may think that you have, but it doesn't all just boil down to that, is all to say. But yeah, got a little bit emotional talking about that before, so I'm going to jump back to the podcast now.
Well, see, this is why these movies all touch a chord. When I was ranking them, most of the movies that I put up at the top touch a chord. They touch that mother family thing. And at this point in my life, that's what I'm thinking of, is a lot of these films are where, you say that there's a bond between the parents, or a bond between the parents and the kids, or a bond between what you had to do in life to get where you had to go. And that's why Coco made my top, because as a person growing up in a very cultural background of the Italians, living in Brooklyn, living in, that whole scenario of family, which is still there, the stories that we tell, the stories we laugh over, the stories stories we do is all about life. You think you're going one way, and then you say that this is what's going to happen, and then you find a way to do something different. Everybody's life is like that. Mine was like that. I was going to be a teacher my whole life. Since I was a little kid, I was going to be a first grade teacher. I wanted to be a teacher. And I was for exactly 2 years. And then I ended up having to go make more money.
I feel like that's what Soul was, though. It says that your life is not boiled down into your single purpose or your single interest. And then, you know, but it's like there's so much more to live life in that sense. And I feel like that's what you watch Joe experience, that life where he starts to see the beauty and everything in his life. How he gets through. And then also how grateful he is for where he is. Because at first he resents being a teacher. He resents being a music teacher. He wants to do more. He wants to be more of a professional musician. But at the end, when he looks back and he realizes, like, actually, this is amazing that I'm inspiring kids to do their interests, to play the music that they want to play, to influence other lives as well, too. But yeah, but that's what Soul kind of boils down to. And again, and then, like you said, too, it has all the blues music, the jazz music, which is just so beautiful in it.
Yes, the whole component of how they're telling the story and pushing it through and how he comes to his realizations. And like I said, the background is supporting it. I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah, and also too, then he gets in the cat as well. He's in the little soul cat, cute little soul cat. So I do love cats. Okay. But again, that's why Soul is my number one. Obviously, as we're sitting here, this was a long episode, that is for sure. But definitely let us know, how would you rank, or what is in your top 5 of the Pixar films as well too. We'd love to know what's in your top 5 of the Pixar films. I did pick a quote from Soul for today's episode. Joe says, "Life is full of possibilities. You just need to know where to look. Don't miss out on the joys of life." I think that's one of the final clips of the film as well.
To live by.
But again, I love Soul. Soul is my favorite ones. Again, some of the other ones too, but I knew Soul was gonna have to be number one when I was thinking about it. But again, Luca was my number one for a little bit, because Luca came out before Soul.
I knew Luca and Soul had to be part of my top.
Yes, like Luca came out before Soul, so that's why I think it's what I did. But yeah, I love Luca as well. Again, it's hard to rank some of these films, because even when you look down in like some of the ones that I ranked kind of low, like Inside Out, I ranked kind of low. Monsters Inc. I ranked kind of low.
Also a lot of the stuff is that I haven't seen a lot of these movies in a very long time. And if I actually sat and watched another movie, I may have said, "Oh wow, I missed that the first time. Yes, that movie should have been in number 2, or that movie should have been."
But I think there's a way you can rank too, where you do a full rewatch and then you rank, but also the way we ranked is like, how have these stood the test of time for us throughout the time? It's like, how if we wanted to rewatch them in recent history, has there been reason to? Was there certain characters or certain things that you liked from the movie that you remembered, or maybe you didn't remember? Or again, like, I haven't seen A Bug's Life in a while, but again, it ranks so low because I thought the Ants plot was better. So not to be...
I didn't like the Ants movie at all.
Yeah, no, again, I didn't like the way the ants looked. The ants looked bad.
Just creepy.
In that Ants movie, they looked bad. In A Bug's Life, they looked cute.
They looked cute. Yes,
again,
they were cute.
If Pixar knows anything, it's to make a cute character. They know how to make anything cute in Pixar. It's when they're number one, I would say, standouts is making the bugs cute in A Bug's Life. But yeah, the way the ants looked in the Ants movie, they looked rough, I would say. I realized they were technically more anatomically correct. So I give them that. I get it. But there's a reason why the ants in A Bug's Life look better.
Right. So. There's a reason why we don't like ants, period. So
yeah, that's a good thing to say too. I actually don't really like ants. They kind of creep me out a little bit from a bug perspective. But anyway, would love to know how you would rank these movies. Let us know which ones were your favorite. Were you appalled that we put Toy Story so low? So sorry to the Toy Story films. They just didn't hit home for me the way Soul and some of the other ones hit home for me. So just it is what it is. So again, I know this is controversial takes in this ranking.
Love the discussion.
But at the end of the day, when you rank something's going to be number one, and unfortunately something is going to be number 31. Wild that there's 31 Pixar films too, for being quite honest.
It is wild.
But again, let us know which ones you would rank in your top 5 and your top 10. Make sure you give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. And make sure you follow us on Almost Amanda X on social media. Everything will be linked below, where you can let us know what do you think of the Pixar films. But until then, we'll see you.